All right, so this is a video that I wanted to talk about the power of writing a book, why your brand or why you personally need to write a book. And as I reflect back on 4 books that I've written, this first one was back in 2009, I think it was, 2009. Linked Working, the first book that I wrote, was extremely important for me at that time. Now, when I look back at this, I cringe because I had no clue what I was doing. But at the time, this gave me access, this gave me credibility, it gave me authority, and it got me in certain rooms. It got me a lot of speaking gigs, which put me on stages with thousands of people. Then I got to meet other speakers who were on those same stages, build relationships and partnerships with them. Some of those people from 10 years ago, I'm still working with and friends with today. So writing my first book, even though it wasn't this like New York Times bestseller, this big hit, it was still important to do a self-published book on a specific topic that made me credible in that topic. And I think that's a great place to get started. You don't need to do this masterpiece of a book that, Hemingway would be proud of. This can be something that's just what can get me more credibility and something that can be valuable for my audience or for an audience that might need that information. And at the time in 2009, LinkedIn was something that a lot of people were struggling with and had no clue what they were doing. And this is all I was doing. So this was my first book, and it gave me a lot of credibility. A few years later, about 5 or 6 years later, I said, okay, I want to do a bigger book. And I did The School of Greatness. And this became a New York Times bestseller in the first week. And it opened up a lot more doors, gave me a lot more credibility. And I took this in a different route. I went the traditional book publishing route, where I had a big publisher that gave me a big advance. And I did the whole thing, a huge press tour, a speaking tour, was on tons of podcasts, webinars. I was doing everything I could to get this book out there because this was kind of my statement book about a lot of things I'd learned with my podcast over many years, building my business, life stuff, sports, everything was in this. So for me, this was an important transition from going from self-publishing a book on a specific topic and doing it myself to working with a publisher. And there are pros and cons to doing it yourself, doing it with a publisher. This really gave it more credibility. They were able to get it in the front of Barnes & Noble, which allowed more people to find me. There was more distribution when you work with a bigger publisher. So that was really important for me to be able to be everywhere, as opposed to only on Amazon for myself and promoting myself or printing them on demand and selling them one by one myself. This one now, anyone could pick it up and they could find it in any bookstore around the country. And that was a really powerful experience for me. Then I said, okay, do I need to do another book? Why would you do another book once you've done a couple? Well, I had a different topic that I knew that could help a lot of people. And this was the Mask of Masculinity, which has helped a ton of men and a ton of women in relationships with men understand themselves and understand the men in their lives. And this has been transformational for me to continue to go through a journey of self-discovery. And I worked with a traditional publisher again for this one, got an advance, but I kept the rights for the foreign rights and the audiobook rights because I wanted to do that myself. I wanted to leverage my podcast and be able to promote the audiobook myself. So I took a little bit less of an advance because I kept the rights to other access to my information. And again, another journey, another process. Each book has been a different journey and a different experience. But this has opened up more doors. And instead of just being the School of Greatness guy, I'm tapping into a new topic of masculinity, masculine vulnerability. And it came at an interesting time during the Me Too movement, doing a lot of the stuff that's happening right now with gender roles and with politics. So this has been a powerful positioning piece for me to be a voice, to be a unique voice in a space where there's a lot of confusion. And it takes time. This is about 2 years of work, a lot of research. You've got to dedicate your time. You got to commit to writing it, working on it, editing it, doing the whole thing. And then once it's done, you've got to commit to promoting it to get the message out there. So there's a lot that goes behind a book. There's teams of people that are working on a book by one person. A couple of myths from this book writing process. Some people think that, okay, when I write a book, I'm going to make a lot of money from the book. You're not going to make a lot of money. Very few people make a lot of money writing books. But what it'll bring you is opportunities to bring in more money from speaking, from selling other programs, from generating leads, from getting consulting clients, things like that, right? It can potentially do it if you write a great book and help people solve some type of problem. If you sell a ton of books, which not many people do, then you can make a lot of money, and you can make a lot of money residually. If you have a small audience, you shouldn't go into it thinking, I'm gonna make a ton of money writing a book, or this is going to sell millions of copies, because it's very rare that a book sells millions of copies. Also, don't write a book thinking that you're going to hit the New York Times bestseller list, because it's very subjective. There's a committee that votes on it, and it doesn't matter how many copies you sell. You could sell the most copies out of anyone that week and still not make the list. I've seen it with a few of my friends. And if you go into writing a book with this big expectation that you're going to hit some big list, then maybe it'll happen, but if it doesn't, you can't get all bent out of shape, because it's not a perfect science. It's not based on who has the best book, who sold the most copies. It's based on what a group of people think about your book and all these other factors. How many books are sold around the country, the distribution, if it's sold in local, online, there's a lot of factors that go into it. So you can't go into this thinking like, I'm gonna game some system and hit the list. It just doesn't work that way. But I believe it's worth it to spread your message out there. If you wanna continue to build your business, if you wanted to continue to, get more customers or clients or generate more leads or more speaking gigs, then having a book is almost a must these days, unless you have some other way of building credibility on a bigger level online. But you've got to be able to get results for people, and a book speaks very loudly. Someone mentioned to me, I don't remember who it said, I think Brendon Burchard mentioned to me that when you get in the home, you get in the heart. So if you're creating content online, or if it's just an audio or just videos, you're not connecting to someone on the deepest level. But when you enter someone's home with a book of yours, and you're sitting right by their bed, and maybe you're going in their bed with you, and they're looking at your book and they're reading your words, there's something that you do, you connect to people on a deeper level when you have a book and you're holding it from someone, you connect to that person, and especially if you impact that person with your message, you help them in some way, it's gonna connect to their heart on a deeper level. That's why I think it's important to write a book. And then I just did an experiment recently with The Millionaire Morning. I said, how can I show people that you can write a book quickly? You can do this in 30 days and put together really a mini book, a guide, to see if people are interested in the topic. So I think a lot of people would say to me, well, Lewis, you wrote these 2 big books and I don't have 2 years. I don't have all this time, all this energy, and it's a lot of work, right, to do something great. And I say, well, anyone can do this. You can create a guide in 30 days. You can print it, you can ship it, and there's fulfillment centers. There's so much available for you right now to be able to do this. And we actually have a training on this to teach people how to write a book in 30 days and come up with their idea and write it and print it and do everything. And this is another way to build credibility. If you don't have a big book yet, you can still build credibility with something smaller while generating leads, while helping you build your business and impacting people along the way. So again, as I reflect back on the 4 books that I've written here, I've got another book that's an ebook only online, so really 5 books. When I reflect back, I think about the journey of writing books and what each one has done for me. They've all helped elevate my brand. They've all helped elevate my relationships. They've helped elevate my business in various forms. And I think you want to think about, what's the thing that you can do right now that's going to help you elevate your authority, your branding, your business, your site, all those things to support your future business, to support your future self. And this is something that's also timeless. These are going to be out there for a long time, and people can get access to these for a long time. And that's pretty cool to have something of yours out there. It's a part of your legacy. So if you haven't written a book yet, I highly recommend checking it out. There's different services out there. We teach you how to do this part ourselves. You can click somewhere on this video or below to learn how to write a book in 30 days and do this yourself. We've got a free training on it, so you can do that. My friend Tucker Max also has a thing called bookinabox.com, I believe it is. They do a high-level service where you can write a book kind of like this or kind of like this in a shorter amount of time, and they have a formula that helps people do this. So there's no more excuses. And if you mention my name or School of Greatness, they're going to hook you up with, I think, a small discount. So make sure to mention my name if you go to bookinabox.com. But there are services, there are providers, there are ghostwriters, there's softwares, templates out there to help you write your own book. It's no longer as challenging as it used to be. And so many people are writing books today because it's easier now than ever. So I highly recommend you consider it, but don't write something just to write it. You know, if you're not ready yet because you don't have the information, then think about what's the book that people need to read. What's the book that my industry needs to help me be more credible, where they don't have the information? What's the book that can help humanity learn more about becoming their best self? What's the book that can help men understand how to heal themselves? I'm always looking for what's missing in the space. What's missing that people need, and how can I provide that through my book? This one, again, The Millionaire Morning, is what's missing in people's morning to help them earn more money. All these things, I'm just listening to people, listening to what's missing, what their biggest challenges are, and then I'm saying, do I have the answers? If not, let me go find the experts like I did in these two books and share their information with my opinion backing it up. So it's not all having to be original content from you. You can also get it from other people and package it in a way that people understand it. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Go write a book. It's a game changer. And let me know what you think. Leave a comment below. And I hope you have a good day. I hope you enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed being a part of it. And if you want more tips and strategies on how to be an authority, how to build credibility, how to build your business, just like this book that I've written right here. We've sold tens of thousands of copies, and I'm teaching other people how to write your own book in 30 days or less. Click right over here or below and join this free webinar. Join right now.